Today is day 5 of self-isolation, and I decided to take it outside, open it up for you and for me. And I apologize. I just can't see without them, and they're photosensitive, so I look like a little bit like I'm hiding out, but I'm not. Not really. The cough, by the way, I've got a bit of cough and congestion. That's seasonal allergies, and I feel good otherwise. I mean, let's hope, right? Let's hope and pray, but I don't think there's anything wrong with me other than seasonal allergies, and everything is starting to bloom, and it is going to be great here in about a month. But right now I suffer. Speaking of suffering, I was looking at a video last night from Gabor, Mate, and Russell Brand, and they were talking about the pandemic and the economic situation and some of the suffering that's going on, and the fear and the ratcheting up, and the this anxiety that is coursing through us. What can we do about it? You know, what is it? What is it meaning? What is it trying to tell us? This is really the thing. What is it trying to tell us? And so I'm thinking, I'm watching this message, and I'm thinking, yes, they are understanding. Yes, they are explaining it. Wow, they're very brilliant, you know, and they're just really narrowing in on it. Phone rings. Look over. It's a friend of mine. It's the second time she's called in the last hour, and I almost didn't pick it up because I can be very selfish with my time. But then I thought, my goodness, here I'm sitting trying to get to the bottom of what's wrong with society and why we're so disconnected, and I can't pick up the phone. Jumped up, picked it up, phone, my friend, we're laughing, we're having, you know, the catch-up time. I haven't spoken to her in quite a few months, and 5 minutes into the phone call, I can hear there's something funny in her voice, and she starts telling me, "Oh my goodness, you know, I need to tell you the truth." And she shared that she had a relapse, and that she was using a substance again, and that she was very ashamed. And then she began to cry, and she said, "Please don't judge me. Please don't hate me." I assured her that that was not possible. I couldn't judge her, and I couldn't hate her, and I am not above anything that she's going through. I have absolutely been there many times for many reasons. Being in a position where I was doing something that was causing tremendous suffering. I had gotten disconnected. I had turned my back on myself. I had not the capacity to love and care and nurture for myself. Substance, relationship, job, working myself to the point that I, you know, would tremble, or drinking, or being around toxic environments. By the way, I was contributing to the toxic environments. It wasn't as if I just walked in as like the innocent lamb and, oh, this is toxic. This is, you know, this person is toxic. I'm not. Please, please. We stay in situations, you know, because of brokenness. Sometimes we are trapped. Sometimes we are taken hostage, and that's real. That's legitimate. You get, you know, situations where you are in a hostage situation. Most of us are not in hostage situations. Most of us are not in abusive, you know, taken hostage by an abusive spouse, or taken or children who are hostage. Not that we haven't been, but not currently, is what I mean. We're not currently in those situations, and so we go out into the dating world. We can't blame all the woes that have occurred on the other person. My friend is suffering. And it occurred to me that it was very much the same message that was being discussed in the video. And I shared with her, not being a therapist, but just being a person who can empathize, having walked a similar path. There's a way back in. You know the steps to get back in, and you can get back to shore. You still have enough awareness, and you're reaching out. Get back to shore. Once you're back to shore, you can reassess and figure out what your next step is. First step first, right? Whatever the step is. I'm not referring to the 12 steps, although the 12 steps can be very helpful for some people in this situation. The steps towards wholeness. First of all, we've got to get stabilized. We make aware, or we admit, we become aware that there's a problem. Then we've got to get stabilized, and then we've got to take steps to get us out of it. So here we are in society. We're aware that there's a problem. We're aware that there's a problem. And we are going to have to tell the truth about what those problems are. Without pointing, without doing the blame game, doesn't mean that we're just going to say, oh, everything's forgiven, let's let people off the hook. But it means that we've got a little blame in some of this situation. So-and-so over there might have a little more blame. This one over here has very little blame. There's a lot of people with different levels of it. But let's all tell the truth about what our level is. We don't have to go and announce it to the whole world, but at least be truthful to yourself and to those around you. I've got a spending issue. Okay, what's that going to look like, honey? How are we going to address that? Well, I've got a problem with, XXXX. How are we going to address that? What's that going to look like? We're going to get ourselves some help. I work myself to death. How am I going to address that? How could I stand it if I made less money? Could I stand it if my identity wasn't wrapped up into this job or this story that I've told myself? We're going to have to change our stories. There's a lot of changes. Now, we don't have a shortage of self-help books on the market. That is the good news. There's not going to be one book out there that's going to do it. There's not going to be one religion out there that that alone has every single answer. You could pick one book, you could pick one religion, and that's perfectly fine if that's what you choose to do. But stay open, because there's nuggets of wisdom all over the place. They're in science, they're in metaphysics. Your Reiki practitioner is going to offer you one thing, and your neurosurgeon is going to offer you another. They're just different things. Take what works for you. If it doesn't work, if you can't vibe with it, put it behind. Point is, we need to march forward into healing and connecting with ourselves. That's the big thing. And so I picked up, after speaking with my friend and listening to the video, I picked up a book that I actually had. It was on my shelf. In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate. And I love this man. I don't know him, but I mean in spirit, you know what I mean? So he writes on page 413, I believe all of us human beings, whether we know it or not, are seeking our own divine nature. Divine in this context does not mean anything supernatural or necessarily religious, only the truth of our oneness with all that is, an ineffable sense of connectedness to other people and other beings, and to each and every shard of matter or spark of energy in the entire universe. When we cease to remember that loving connection and lose touch with our deep yearning for it, we suffer. That's what Jesus meant by poverty. It's also what the contemporary spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle sees as the fundamental source of human anxiety. Tolle writes, basically all emotions are modifications of one primordial, undifferentiated emotion that has its origin in the loss of awareness of who you are beyond name and form. Because of its undifferentiated nature, it's hard to find a name that precisely describes this emotion. Fear comes close. But apart from a continuous sense of threat, it also includes a deep sense of abandonment and incompleteness. It may be best to use a term that is as undifferentiated as that basic emotion and simply call it pain. Addiction floods in where self-knowledge and therefore divine knowledge are missing. To fill the unendurable void, we become attached to the things of the world that cannot possibly compensate us for the loss of who we are. The things of the world are that relationship that you think is going to complete you, or that one other thing that is going to make it all better. The things out there, the things that we can see, touch, feel, hear, taste, smell. Those are the things of the world. The other things are inside. That's what completes us, what's inside. Our connection with ourself, our connection with the source. Thank you for listening today. I hope you all are doing well out there, and I hope that you'll reach out to others and tell them that you care and that you're thinking about them. If you need help, call out for it. You'll be surprised who will extend their hand. And if it doesn't happen right away, call out again. There's a lot going on right now. Forgive people if you can who seem distracted. Keep reaching out. Keep loving yourself, or begin loving yourself. Wherever you are, today's a good day to begin. I'll see ya tomorrow. Take care.